Picture this. You're strolling through Central Park on a Sunday afternoon. Heart rate steady, breath easy. You could hum along to a song on your AirPods without missing a beat. It feels like nothing, just a casual walk. But somewhere deep inside your abdomen, in the fat cells wrapped tightly around your liver, your pancreas, your intestines, a quiet revolution has just begun. Here's what most people don't realize. Your body has an incredibly shrewd accountant living inside it. Every single second, this accountant runs the same calculation. Where should the next unit of energy come from? Blood sugar? The glycogen stored in your muscles? Or those deep reserves locked away in fat cells? And visceral fat? The dangerous fat hugging your organs? That's the savings account this accountant refuses to touch unless absolutely necessary. So here's the question worth 6,000 words of your attention. How long do you actually have to walk, and how hard, before that accountant finally cracks open the savings account and starts torching visceral fat? The answer is more layered, more surprising, and more useful than almost anything you've heard from a fitness influencer on TikTok. Today, we're going to break it down with real science. First, you need to understand a concept that quietly runs the entire fat-burning conversation. It's called Zone 2. Most people walking on a treadmill at Planet Fitness or jogging through their neighborhood have absolutely no idea what heart rate zone they're in. But that zone determines almost entirely what fuel your body decides to burn. Exercise scientists divide your heart rate into 5 zones. Zone 1 is the easy stroll, around 50 to 60% of your maximum heart rate. Zone 3 is where you start breathing harder. The conversation gets choppy. Zone 2 sits right in the middle, roughly 60 to 70% of your max. If you don't know your maximum heart rate, here's the back of the napkin formula. Subtract your age from 220. So a 40-year-old has a max of about 180 beats per minute, which puts Zone 2 somewhere between 108 and 126 beats per minute. What does Zone 2 actually feel like? Very specific. You can hold a conversation, you can answer your friend's question about weekend plans, but you cannot belt out the chorus of a Taylor Swift song. You're moving, you're sweating lightly, but you're not gasping. That comfortable, slightly working feeling, that's Zone 2. And here's the truth almost nobody tells you. Zone 2 isn't special because it burns the most calories. It's special because at this exact intensity, your body chooses fat as its preferred fuel. To understand why, we need to talk about the tiny power plants inside your cells, mitochondria. Think of them as microscopic engines that take whatever you eat and convert it into ATP, the universal energy currency your body actually spends. You can think of ATP like quarters in an arcade. Every muscle contraction, every heartbeat, every blink costs quarters. When you're cruising in Zone 2, the intensity is low enough that your mitochondria have plenty of time and oxygen to process fat. Fat molecules are big, complicated, and slow-burning, kind of like trying to break a $100 bill at a gas station. But once they're broken down, they release a massive amount of long-lasting energy. Mitochondria love this. Slow, steady, oxygen-rich, premium fuel. But the moment you push into Zone 3 or Zone 4, say you start chasing your dog through the park or sprinting to catch the subway, the mitochondria can't process fat fast enough. Your body flips a switch. It starts burning glucose instead. Glucose is simple, fast, immediate, like grabbing a $5 bill out of your wallet. But the cost is that fat burning crashes. The percentage drops dramatically. That's why Zone 2 is the golden window for fat oxidation. Now, inside that window, how long do you actually need to walk before visceral fat enters the chat? This is where it gets interesting, because your body doesn't flip a single switch. It runs a precisely choreographed energy handoff in stages. Stage 1. The first 5 to 10 minutes. This is the emergency startup phase. Your muscles suddenly demand energy, but fat takes time to mobilize. So your body grabs the cache that's closest, glycogen stored right inside your muscle cells. It's like needing $20 for an Uber and pulling it from your wallet instead of driving to a Chase ATM. In this phase, you might feel a little heavy, a little stiff. Your heart rate climbs, your breathing deepens, totally normal. But here's the critical point. During these first 10 minutes, you are burning sugar. Visceral fat? Barely touched. A huge number of people believe that walking for 10 minutes after lunch is melting their belly fat. It's not. We'll come back to that myth. Stage 2, minutes 10 to 20. Now it gets fascinating. Your blood sugar dips slightly, which means your insulin level drops too. Insulin is the lock on your fat cells. When insulin is high, fat is trapped inside, no exit. When insulin drops, the lock loosens. At the same time, your body releases adrenaline and noradrenaline, two hormones that act like a key signal to your fat cells. The cells get the message and start a process called lipolysis, breaking down stored triglycerides into glycerol and free fatty acids. Those fatty acids spill into your bloodstream, travel to your muscles, and get fed into the mitochondria. But this process takes time. It's like wiring money from one bank to another, not instant. Have you ever felt this? You start a walk, and the first 10 minutes feel like dragging a sandbag. Then, somewhere around minute 15, suddenly something clicks. Your stride feels lighter, your breathing settles. You feel like you could go forever. Drop a comment if you've experienced this. Most people have, and almost nobody knows what's actually happening. That click is your metabolism completing the handoff. Fat has officially taken over as the main fuel. Stage 3, minutes 20 to 40. You've now entered fat priority burning. Studies show that during moderate aerobic exercise sustained past the 20-minute mark, fat can supply 40 to 60% of your total energy, sometimes more, depending on your fitness level and what you've eaten that day. And here's where we have to talk about which fat. Your body stores two main types. Subcutaneous fat is the kind you can pinch with your fingers, the layer right under your skin. Visceral fat hides much deeper, packed around your liver, pancreas, and intestines. You can't see it, you can't touch it. It's also the most metabolically active fat in your body. Visceral fat cells have more adrenaline receptors and respond faster to lipolysis signals. Which means when your body finally starts burning fat seriously, visceral fat answers the call before subcutaneous fat does. From an evolutionary standpoint, this makes perfect sense. Visceral fat sits right next to your liver. The free fatty acids it releases can travel through the portal vein straight into the liver and get used immediately. It's a high-efficiency fuel pipeline our ancestors evolved over hundreds of thousands of years, back when famine was a regular feature of human life. Visceral fat isn't a passive storage warehouse. It's a dynamic, responsive energy reserve that wakes up faster than any other fat in your body. So here's the first major scientific takeaway. After about 20 to 30 minutes of Zone 2 walking, visceral fat becomes a meaningful fuel source. But that's just one walk. If you want to systematically shrink visceral fat over time, there's a deeper layer to understand. Stage 4. Past the 40-minute mark. Now you've entered deep mobilization territory. Your glycogen stores are heavily depleted. Your body leans harder and harder on fat. The fat-burning ratio keeps climbing. and a powerful new player walks onto the field: growth hormone. Sustained low to moderate aerobic exercise stimulates growth hormone release, and growth hormone has one job that matters here. It aggressively promotes lipolysis while suppressing the storage of new fat. You can think of growth hormone as a demolition order. It tells fat cells to empty out their inventory and stop accepting new shipments. Even better, research shows the growth hormone spike doesn't shut off the moment you stop walking. The fat-burning effect can continue for several hours afterward. This is the famous afterburn effect. You're sitting on your couch, watching Netflix, and your body is still working through the demolition list. But there's a boundary I have to be honest about. If you push past 90 minutes of low-intensity exercise, your body may start breaking down muscle protein for fuel. For most people, that's not a great trade. So the optimal Zone 2 walking window lands somewhere between 45 and 75 minutes per session, long enough to trigger deep visceral fat mobilization, short enough to protect your muscle. Now, let's burn down some myths, because the fitness internet is absolutely full of confident nonsense on this topic. Myth 1. The harder you train, the more fat you burn. This is probably the most viral piece of misinformation in the gym world. People believe HIIT, brutal CrossFit sessions, and lung-busting sprints are the only real way to lose fat. Walking? Too slow, too soft, useless. Right. The science actually says the opposite. High-intensity training burns more total calories? Sure. But the percentage that comes from fat is much lower because your body switches to glucose under stress. Zone 2 burns fewer calories per minute, but a much higher proportion of those calories come from fat, especially visceral fat. Studies published in the International Journal of Obesity have shown that consistent, moderate aerobic work outperforms pure high-intensity training for visceral fat reduction over the long term. Myth 2. As long as you walk, you're burning fat. Time doesn't matter. This is the opposite mistake, and it's just as wrong. Remember, the first 10 to 20 minutes of any walk are mostly powered by sugar. If you walk for 15 minutes and call it done, you've basically initiated the bank transfer and shut down the app before the money arrived. You started the process every time, but never finished it. Anything under 20 minutes does very little for visceral fat directly. Myth 3. You can spot reduce belly fat with crunches and ab workouts. People spend hours on planks and sit-ups, praying their belly will shrink. Spot reduction does not exist. Fat mobilization is a whole body process controlled by hormones. You cannot point at a body part and say, burn there first. However, as we just covered, visceral fat happens to be more metabolically active, so during full body aerobic work, it does respond first. Not because you targeted it, because biology designed it that way. Now, here's the dimension most articles completely skip: the long-term adaptations. A single Zone 2 walk starts mobilizing visceral fat after 20 to 30 minutes. But the real magic happens when you string together weeks and months of these walks. Your body undergoes deep metabolic remodeling. First, your mitochondria multiply and upgrade. Studies show consistent aerobic training increases mitochondrial density inside muscle cells. More mitochondria means more fat-burning capacity. It's like your city building new power plants. The whole grid becomes more efficient. Second, your insulin sensitivity improves. When your cells respond well to insulin, blood sugar gets managed efficiently. Fat storage signals weaken, and fat mobilization signals strengthen. Researchers at Harvard Medical School have found that 150 minutes per week of moderate aerobic activity, with no dietary changes whatsoever, can significantly shrink visceral fat area within 12 weeks. In some studies, the effect actually beat dieting alone. Third, your adiponectin levels rise. Adiponectin is a hormone secreted by your fat cells with anti-inflammatory effects, fat-burning effects, and insulin-sensitizing effects. As visceral fat shrinks, adiponectin goes up, which then accelerates further visceral fat loss. It's a beautiful self-reinforcing loop. The more you do it, the easier it gets. Now, I have to be honest about the limits and the risks, too. Zone 2 walking is one of the safest forms of exercise on the planet for healthy adults. But a few groups need to be careful. If you have a history of cardiovascular disease, talk to your cardiologist before starting any new program. Don't blindly use the 220 minus age formula. Some medications, like beta blockers, change how your heart rate responds to exertion. If you have serious joint problems, long walks can aggravate things. Pay attention to your shoes, the surface you walk on, and how long you go per session. If you have unstable blood sugar or diabetes, exercise affects glucose levels in real time. Work with your doctor and monitor closely. And if you're running on 3 hours of sleep and feel like a zombie, dragging yourself out for a 60-minute walk is not the brilliant move you think it is. Sleep deprivation jacks up cortisol, your stress hormone. Cortisol actively suppresses fat breakdown and even promotes visceral fat storage. Walking in that state gives you a fraction of the benefit. There's also a factor almost nobody talks about: meal timing. If you just demolished a bagel with cream cheese and a sweetened latte from Starbucks, your blood sugar and insulin are sky high. The fat lock is bolted shut. You could walk for 40 minutes and visceral fat barely moves. By contrast, walking first thing in the morning, before breakfast, or 2 to 3 hours after a meal dramatically improves fat-burning efficiency. Not a hard rule, just a smart optimization you can play with. Okay, let's pull all of this into one clear, practical framework you can actually use starting tomorrow. Step 1. Confirm you're in Zone 2. Use 220 minus your age to estimate your max heart rate. Aim for 60 to 70% of that during your walk. An Apple Watch, a Garmin, or a Fitbit will track this easily. Or use the talk test. You should be able to speak full sentences, but not sing the chorus of your favorite song. Step 2. Each walk should last at least 40 minutes to truly enter deep fat burning. The first 20 are warm-up and metabolic switching. Real visceral fat oxidation kicks in after that. Step 3. Hit at least 4 to 5 sessions per week. The American College of Sports Medicine and the NIH recommend 150 minutes weekly of moderate aerobic activity as the minimum effective dose for serious metabolic change. Step 4. Pair it with smart eating. Zone 2 walking is a powerful tool, but if you keep flooding your system with refined sugar and ultra-processed snacks, you're filling the bathtub while trying to drain it. Cut back on the sugary drinks, the late-night Doritos, the daily pastry runs, and the results compound fast. Step 5. Protect your sleep. Quality sleep optimizes growth hormone, which means your body is burning fat at night while you're unconscious. Sleep is the free, invisible fat-burning shift you didn't know you were working. Step back for a second, and the science of Zone 2 walking points to a deeper truth about your body. You are not a passive machine waiting for instructions. You are a dynamic system shaped by millions of years of evolutionary intelligence. Visceral fat used to be a survival advantage, a precious reserve that kept our ancestors alive through brutal winters and failed harvests. In a modern world of DoorDash, drive-thrus, and 24-hour convenience stores, that same biology has become a primary driver of metabolic syndrome, heart disease, and type 2 diabetes. Zone 2 walking is essentially using your body's ancient operating system to solve a very modern problem. You don't need extreme fasting. You don't need to destroy yourself with 2-a-day workouts. You need 45 minutes a day at a pace where you can talk but not sing, sustained over weeks. That's it. Your body activates a deep metabolic rewrite. It's not a shortcut. It's the path your physiology was literally designed for. So here's the bottom line. During Zone 2 walking, visceral fat starts becoming a meaningful fuel source about 20 to 30 minutes in. Each session should run 45 to 75 minutes. Hit 4 to 5 sessions a week, pair it with decent food and real sleep. Within a few weeks, you'll see measurable visceral fat loss and the metabolic improvements that come with it. If today's breakdown gave you a new way to think about your own body, if you feel like this is the kind of science more people deserve to actually hear instead of the recycled influencer noise, share this video with someone in your life who's working hard on their health. Hit the like button so the algorithm knows there's still an audience for real, deep science content. Subscribe to the channel because every week we take the most current research and translate it into something you can actually use. Your body is smarter than you give it credit for. You just have to send it the right signal.